What's up, gamers? I'm Goldman12, and today I'm going to be talking about possibly one of the strongest characters in all of Zenless Zone Zero, Soukaku. Let's jump into it. Soukaku is an ice attribute type agent with the support specialty. She specializes in buffing units and doing damage. That of which is, I think, something many people look over is the fact that she also does damage. Damage is one of those things many people overlook with support characters. However, it is important in this game to actually make sure your support characters are significantly geared so that they can output the best they possibly can, with Soukaku being one of the special characters who can both do damage and support. I'll now go over her abilities and explain why she is so potent. To start, we have her stats. Soukaku has 8027.4 HP, 596.5 defense, 665.83 attack, the regular base 5 crit, 50 crit damage, 0 pin ratio, 86 impact, 93 anomaly mastery, and 96 anomaly proficiency with an energy recharge rate at 1.56 at level 60. These are her level 60 stats. Of course, you get most of this energy recharge via her core passive upgrades, so make sure you do those accordingly, as this does massively help her and what she wants to do, as well as her overall damage by increasing her base attack. Probably not surprising to many, but her stats are not all that impressive, all things considered, when you compare them to other characters. When looking at the stat sheet, her HP places her at 6th place, which is actually relatively high, especially considering she's a 4-star. Her attack brings her all the way down to 13th place in the game as of right now, which is quite low, especially for a character that builds on attack for their buffs. Her defense makes her at 15th place, which this is to be expected considering she's not a defense scaling character, and the fact that she is a 4-star. And then her impact stat is also at 15, which again makes sense because she's a support character, not a stun character. Typically, stun characters are going to have over 100. The stun characters right now, for example, have 134 as a baseline for Kaleda, as an example. And as for her anomaly mastery and anomaly proficiency, anomaly mastery puts her at 6, and anomaly proficiency puts her at 10. These aren't really notable as because she doesn't build anomaly in the first place, since she isn't an anomaly based character and that she's a pure support. At the end of the day, the stats aren't really all that impressive and nothing really notable to write home about. It's just sort of a building ground for what you need to know about building this character. And as I've been saying earlier, I do think it's actually worth building her for damage despite this attack stat not being so impressive. And reminder, all these stats are at level 60. Now onto her skills. Soukaku's basic attack, making rice cakes. She unleashes 3 attacks dealing physical damage, and then her additional basic, making rice cakes frosted banner. Whenever frosted banner is active, press the attack button to activate up to 3 faster attacks in front dealing ice damage. For her dodge, press the dodge button. It's that simple. Dash attack, 50-50. Press the dodge button and then attack afterwards to deal physical slice. Dash attack 50-50 frost banner. While frost banner is active, dodge and then attack to deal ice damage. Dodge counter, away from my snacks. Press attack during a perfect dodge to activate slashes in front of the enemy and deal ice damage. Character is invulnerable while using the skill. This is something you'll see a lot of many characters using their abilities will make them invulnerable. As for her assists, a set for 2, you press the assist button during an attack and she will assist dealing ice damage. Defensive assist, guarding tactics. Whenever a character's on field about to be attacked, if you press the button, she will activate a parry. This is good because parries in this game do a lot of daze damage, and having a character that can parry is nice even if it is a support character who isn't always focused on dealing daze damage. And of course, this ability makes her invulnerable for a number of hits. And the third part of the follow-up, sweeping strike. After hitting the defensive assist to activate, the character charges towards the enemy, dealing ice damage, and is invulnerable while using the skill. Holding the attack button while the skill is active will allow you to quickly go into her EX skill, or her skill ability, Fly the Flag, and this will additionally activate her quick assists. Very potent that this does this even with an assist. The fact that Soukaku has so many routes to get her quick assist off is very, very strong for this character overall. And even though you're not always going to be using her assist button, this is just going to be a huge value to her overall kit and how it functions, as activating her hold skill is very valuable to what she wants to do as a whole, right? So just giving you this additional route to activate that is huge, and it's just great overall for actually doing damage, as this is where a majority of her damage is going to come from. And again, as I've been saying, it's just another activation of this, and that's just huge because you effectively can get this off for free whenever you proc the ability. It's a fantastic ability. And now for her special attack, and this is one of the most important things of this character's kit and why she is so powerful overall. And it's quite long, so get ready. Special attack, cooling bento. Press the special attack button to activate. Soukaku releases a wind current in front of her and unleashes her finishing move, dealing ice damage. Anti-interrupt level is increased while using the skill, and damage taken is reduced by 40%. Holding the special attack button while using the skill allows for a quick transition into Fly the Flag, which is her hold skill for this skill, right? I'm going to say skill a lot, just be ready for this. Overall, this first initial ability right here, the first variant of her special attack, is a very potent ability. It does decent damage, it's long range, it travels through enemies, and giving you interrupt, resist, and damage reduction is very potent, because this means it's much more comfortable to use her on field and not run into any issues. It also means she just overall takes less damage, and that is fantastic. I, from personal experience, have not ever been knocked over while using the skill, and so it is a very potent amount of anti-interrupt. And of course, as I already said, the damage reduction is nice added bonus on top. And then of course, the final part of the skill where it transitions into Fly to Flag. Again, you're going to hear this a lot, and this is the most important part of this character, but it's a part of her it's the latter part of her skill that will give you the quick assist and other various effects like her banner effect, which we'll get into in a moment. Moving on, her EX special, banning mosquitoes. With enough energy, press the EX skill button to activate. Releases a wind current of extended range in front of her, dealing massive ice damage. This is the one I was referring to just a moment ago that, goes out very far and pierces through enemies. This one right here. The regular version isn't as strong, and this is just the upgraded version of it. Additionally, the skill can be used in rapid succession by repeatedly pressing the EX skill button. Each use will consume a specified amount of energy. Once Soukaku's energy is depleted or you stop pressing the button, she will unleash a powerful finishing move that deals massive ice damage. Just like the previous variant of the skill, you get the interrupt, resist, and you get the damage reduction. And of course, holding it at the end allows you to quickly transition into a Fly the Flag. Now then, her hold skill, Rally. Hold skill to activate, Soukaku plunges her weapon into the ground, morphs it into a flag, and launches Fly the Flag, dealing ice damage. Hitting an enemy with Fly the Flag triggers a quick assist. Pressing attack or skill after Fly the Flag activates a special attack as she retracts the flag, dealing ice damage. If Soukaku owns 3 stacks of Vortex on using Fly the Flag, she will consume all 3 stacks and enter the Frosted Banner state. In the Frosted Banner state, she can unleash an enhanced basic attack or enhanced dash attack, dealing massive ice damage. This effect can last up to 45 seconds or stack up to 6 times. Soukaku gains stacks of Vortex in the following circumstances. Gains 1 stack of Vortex when launching an EX special, gains 1 stack of Vortex when launching a chain attack, gains 3 stacks of Vortex when launching an ultimate. Soukaku can accumulate a maximum of 3 stacks of Vortex. This is a very complicated one, but basically you use the EX special, so you use the long range version of the skill, right, the enhanced one, you do a chain attack or use an ultimate, and each of these will allow you to gain a certain number of stacks, right? 1, 1, and 3 accordingly. This is really strong, as this is what you use to activate her core passive ability by spending these charges once you do have 3. It'll activate her core passive ability and give you another buff on top of this one that she's already activating. Now, the main thing about this is that Fly the Flag itself, as stated at the beginning of the description, triggers a quick assist, and quick assists are one of the most important things for any team in the game, and it's what all these support characters have, right? Each one of these supports have a quick assist somewhere in their kit, and this gives them new routes and better damage potential overall, as it effectively allows you to instantly activate a dash attack, which will activate many characters' abilities and many weapons, passives, right? And so quick assist in general is just always a good thing to see, and it's what you want to see on these support characters. Additionally, of course, the Fly the Flag state, she does stand still during the skill, and you plant the sword or the flag into the ground, and it activates the rest of the abilities. And once you get 3 stacks, it will spin those charges to give you that buff. This is the most important part of her kit, and it's not even related to her main damage source yet. Of course, like I've been saying, you can build this for damage, and I do actually recommend you doing so, and we'll get into that in a minute. The main thing to keep in mind with the skill is that you're going to spend your energy by using the EX skill to shoot your fans out, and then you're going to hold the skill to activate. Now, you won't always do this. Sometimes you can just use the tap skill to pre-charge your stacks before going into a stun and then chain attack combo. Because remember, when you use a chain attack, and we'll get into this once we read the chain attack, but she actually activates her Fly the Flag ability during a chain attack. So you get this via assist, her hold skill, and her ultimate. So you're just guaranteed to always proc a quick assist and always proc her full passive to actually get the support buff. It is an insane ability, and this right here, while it may be wordy, is very important to understand that she's effectively always activating her hold attack, basically no matter what you do, and this is one of the reasons why she is so absurdly broken. And of course, while I am ignoring the frosted state that you gain from all of this, you can, if you do, use her as a main DPS or even use her as an additional damage dealer like I've been saying this whole time, right? The fact that she gets enhanced basics and skills allows her to do, on-field damage, and because of how her ultimate works, you get additional effects, which we're getting to now. As for Soukaku's chain attack and her ultimate attack, her chain attack, Pudding Slash. When chain attack is triggered, select the character to activate. Soukaku quickly unleashes a series of strikes to the enemies in front of her and follows up with Fly the Flag, dealing massive ice damage. The character is invulnerable while using this skill. As stated previously, this activates her hold skill effectively and will give you the quick assist and additionally give you any other effects that it does proc. Very powerful effect that this will always chain into. Her ultimate, Jumbo Pudding Slash. When decibel rating is at max, press the ult button to activate. Soukaku quickly unleashes an extended series of strikes at enemies in front of her and follows up with a Fly the Flag, dealing massive ice damage. Once again, another route into your Fly the Flag, it will always activate. Upon activating the skill, Soukaku enters the mass state, increasing her crit rate by 15% for 15 seconds. Again, as I've been stated previously, she does function as a damage dealer. It is very questionable why they gave a support extra crit rate, but you know what? We take it. That's Pog. Upon activating the skill, other squad members recover 10 energy, and the next character to switch in gains an additional 20 energy. This character is invulnerable while using the skill. From what I can tell, most supports in this game have this, or at least out of the multiple supports we have, Lucy does have this as an example. This you won't always get use out of because, again, you don't typically use ultimates on your support characters. However, due to how high Soukaku's multiplier is that you'll see on screen, this is actually a higher multiplier than Ellen's. And so it actually might arguably be better to use Soukaku's ultimate over other characters. It's kind of insane to say that, but Soukaku's multipliers, if you have been paying attention, are actually really high, especially for a support character. And this just leads more into the fact that it's like, you kind of want to build her for damage overall. And additionally, with all the other buffs she's been getting, like the enhanced state with the ice attacks and this crit buff, you can actually have her do pretty decent damage while she's on field doing what she needs to do. So this is actually very nice to see overall for her ultimate. Her ultimate in general is really good. As I said, these are just more routes for her to get Fly the Flag off and activate that quick assist, and her actual passive that we're getting into now. So for her core skill, Blade Banner. When Soukaku launches Fly the Flag, her attack is increased by 17% up to 500 for 22 seconds. When consuming Vortex Fly the Flag, the attack increase is doubled up to a max of 1000. This buff can be passed along to characters switching in via quick assist or chain attacks triggered by Fly the Flag, and it refreshes the duration of the buff. This is actually insane. Not only does it make it very forgiving for the buff timer as it refreshes the duration and it lasts for a very good time, 22 seconds, it's also the biggest attack buff in the whole game. Nothing else in the game gives you this much attack flat out. 1000 attack is a very big amount, and the actual condition for it is very simple, as you only need to hit her effective buff of 500. This is a fantastic ability that is one of the most powerful abilities in the game, and it's why she is so strong, because, well, she's effectively giving herself 1000 attack and the whole team 1000 attack. Hopefully you're starting to see why this character is so absurdly broken and why we could even consider her what would be the Bennett of Zenless Zen Zero. She is absurd with just this ability alone, and as I said, the fact that Fly the Flag activates on nearly half her abilities automatically just means that you're gonna have this procced all the time, basically, and it's an absolutely insane buff. And then as for her additional ability, Group Set Meal, this is whenever you have a character of the same attribute or faction, so another ice character or another Section 6 member, which we don't have any other ones at the moment, but this will only get better with time as people get more Section 6 members. Soukaku, whenever she consumes Vortex to activate Fly the Flag, will get an increase of ice damage for the whole squad by 20% for 22 seconds. Again, another very powerful ability that's very easy to activate due to its condition being off Fly the Flag, which we've already stated previously, effectively activates off everything she wants to do, so it's already insane. Also, I want to reiterate, I did make a mistake there. It goes at max level, it increases her attack up to 20%, not 17%. It goes from 12.5 to 20% once it's maxed out. So again, very easy to hit this requirement due to how attack stats work in this game, and how much attack Soukaku needs on her own. Yo, so I'm throwing this into the video last minute, but in case you guys don't know, and again, I completely forgot to originally record this, but regardless, in case you don't know, attack percent in this game actually works differently than it does like in Genshin, and other games, right? And this post, explains it pretty well. But basically, you add everything in, and then temporary buffs like weapon buffs or artifact 4 pieces. In this case, 4 pieces like woodpecker, right? These buffs happen in battle on top of everything else, right? And so as an example here, you add in your level ups, your core upgrades, your main stats, your substats, your weapon stats, right? Your weapon substats, and then you add in the temporary attack percent from like a weapon or whatever buff, like from artifact 4 piece, right? And so to give you an example, and again, this is what I meant to include originally, is for Soukaku's base attack, right? We're gonna add in this right here. So it's gonna be her weapon, which is 624, plus her base attack, and I'm using her signature weapon for this. Plus her base attack, and this is at level 60, mind you, of 665, plus the base attack of the relic. So in this case, since it's a S rank relic, it's going to be 184, and we're gonna reach 1,473 attack, right? Now obviously this isn't enough, but it's still pretty high. We're now going to add in the percentages of attack from the 6th slot relic and her weapon, which those together are going to make this times 1.55, because it's 25 from the weapon, 30 from the relic, right? The disk drive. And so we're going to hit a 2,283.15 attack without any attack percent subs or without any other attack percent pieces. This is just the weapon and then another attack percent, 6 slot. Now a lot of the builds, again, do recommend going for stats of pure attack. I think at this point, because her attack is so high, it's really close to what it needs to be to hit the max buff, you can build for damage. Because to actually get past this point to get enough attack percent to max out, because remember, the temporary buff will not affect her actual shared buff. You need to have your base attack, or what is considered your combat base, high enough to actually share the buff. It is so close to where I think you're totally fine not building pure attack on her and going for crit stats, and that's the whole point I'm trying to share in this video. So if we go back to our original number of 1473 and we take this times 1.8, so this is like getting another 25 attack via substats. We are now at 2,651, which is more than enough to meet the requirement of 500 attack for her max buff, right? So again, if we take this times 0.2, which would be her max buff, we are now over 500, right? So you only need like less than 20% attack from subs to actually get the max buff. This, I think, is enough justification to actually build for crit stats on her and have her do damage on top of what she's already doing. So in case you were a bit confused by that, I just want to add this into the video to better explain that, yeah, it's not really hard to hit her max cap or overall buffing and then still get more out of this character's, potential kit. Now onto Soukaku's dupes, or her Mindscape cinema. Absolute cinema, my dear friend. Okay, I'm gonna stop with that. So, her first dupe. When Soukaku triggers core passive blade banner or additional ability, group set meal, the buff duration is increased by 8 seconds. Let me just make one thing clear. If her kit was already super impressive, this just makes the buff last longer. There was no reason for this, but it's fantastic. We'll take it. Amazing dupe. Her second dupe, Experimental Charging Module. When Soukaku's basic attack, dash attack, dodge counter, or quick assist hits an enemy, there's a 15% chance she gains 1 stack of Vortex, triggering up to 1 per second. When Vortex reaches max stats, any additional stack grants Soukaku 1.2 energy instead. So, again, in case you were like, there's no way this can get better, yes, it gets even better. Whenever you do effectively anything with Soukaku, you have a chance to gain an additional stack of Vortex, up to once per second. And again, due to how fast she attacks, and even though she's a bit slower of a character, she still attacks decently fast, it's actually relatively reliable to get one of these every once in a while, right? And if you get extra during anything you do at all, because it's whenever you get any stacks, she just gets free energy. And there's no limit. This is insane. This character just keeps getting better and better the more you go on. Like, this is another fantastic dupe. And again, while it is RNG and it's not the most reliable, it's still just, icing on top of the cake, right? Or cherry on top of the whatever. You get what I'm saying. Her third dupe, Attendance Meal Allowance, just increases her basic attack, dodge, assist, special attack, and chain attack levels by 2. Of course, being a 4-star, this is always appreciated, right? 5-star characters, you won't see this too often because, of course, not many people get dupes of 5 stars, but hey, increasing your talents, that's always fantastic. This just means you can do even more damage. Her fourth dupe, Hypothermia, and this is one of her strongest ones. If an enemy is hit by Fly the Flag, the target's ice res is reduced by 10% for 8 seconds. This is a very powerful effect, as we already stated previously. She basically activates Fly the Flag as long as you are sitting still on a Tuesday, and well, hey, you just get free ice damage, so what more could you want out of this? It's a very powerful ability and allows your ice team to excel even more. Her fifth dupe, Late Night Stacks, is another talent level increase. And then finally, her sixth dupe, while in the Frosted Banner state, the number of usable enhanced basic attacks and enhanced dash attacks are increased to 12, and also deal 45% more damage. So, as you've seen, you don't need all her dupes for her to support even better, they just make her even more OP. But this sixth dupe just says, screw supporting, let's do double the DPS. Yeah, I don't know what they are cooking, but they were trying to make a fine, meal with this character's dupes and her kit overall. Because this is fantastic. You get double the enhanced attacks, and they all deal more damage. So if you want a DPS of her, and you were already building her for damage, like again, I've been saying you should, well, hell man, free damage. Who's gonna say no to this? Now, in case you aren't convinced of this supreme deity's power, let me teach you about the way to build her, aka Sock. No, not Suck, Sock. The Sock build. The Soukaku Occult Crit Kit. Yes, I came up with this acronym, fight me. Now, in order to have the best Sock build possible, we are going to have a variety of weapons. So there are 4 weapons that are key to point out when building the Sock build. You have the Bashful Demon, which is Soukaku's signature weapon. You have the Reverb Mark II, the Reverb Mark III, and the Battle Pass weapon, the Unfettered Game Ball. Now, between these options, obviously Soukaku's signature weapon is her best in slot. The main reason for this is the fact that it gives you a high base attack, a lot of attack percent, ice damage, and additionally gives you attack percent for all squad members whenever you activate EX Special. This is going to be my recommended weapon. Of course, it is on the banner right now, so if you are summoning for Ellen Joe's weapon, there's a high likelihood that you do have Soukaku's signature weapon. If you're not summoning on the banner, that's still fine. This is, in my opinion, the number 1 weapon to overall increase Soukaku's damage and to make sure you hit your attack threshold to actually maximize her passive. However, if you don't have her signature weapon, you can go for the lower attack options that will make it a bit harder for you to hit these thresholds, being Mark II and Mark III. Now, Mark II is the one that's going to be better for anomaly teams if you are deciding to go with this, as this will allow you to give everybody anomaly proficiency, and it will give you a bit of energy recharge. So in some cases, you can argue this being better than the Mark III. However, Mark III will give you attack percent, which right now, basically every character scales up attack percent whenever you use a chain attack or ultimate. And this will trigger once every 20 seconds. So this one is arguably better than the Mark II. It's going to be up to personal preference or whatever team you intend to run her on. Which, mind you, you can run her on basically any team because, well, right now any team scales of attack except for, of course, Ben, but he'll scale on his own stuff, so it's totally fine in that regard. Finally, of course, you have the Unfettered Ball game. This one I don't think is worthwhile. I know there are a lot of Battle Pass holders who are wondering what weapons to go for. I'll be honest, I think your best bet's probably just the DPS one, and you can ignore the rest of them. This one does give you a, nice chunk of crit rate whenever you trigger an attribute counter effect. And to be completely honest with you, I have no idea what this is. However, at the same time, this will give you a decent amount of base attack and 50% energy regen, so it's going to be up to the user. However, I definitely do think the best bet is going to be the Bashful Demon, as for this guide, I'm recommending you to build more towards damage, and you'll see why. Alright, now to talk about the disc drives. Now, in this game, disc drives, have various different effects. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but for Soukaku specifically, I think the best option is actually going to be one of the support sets, that being Swinging Jazz. Now, some of the other options, especially because this whole time I've been talking about building her for damage, do seem more appealing. However, she is first and foremost a support character, and I do think just overall this is going to be your best bet, as this will give everybody damage percent and give her energy recharge so she can use her EX skills more often and you actually build up those stacks. Additionally, for the 2-piece set, you do have a variety of options. I do think going with an attack percent is very valid if you want to make sure you maximize your buff. Other than that, though, I would go for one of the damage ones just to maximize her damage. So like the Puffer Electro for pin ratio, or Polar Metal for ice damage percent. Really, it's going to be whatever up to you. Or even the crit one, if you just want to make sure she is always critting on her, attacks. As for stats, you're going to be looking for attack percent on the 6th slot, ice damage on 5th slot, and for the 4th slot, you're going to be looking for crit rate or crit damage, whichever one you need for the actual build. Of course, if you are not going for the sock damage build, you can just do full attack. Again, it's pretty easy to actually hit the attack threshold you need to actually activate the max passive, so I don't really think this is that much of an issue. In fact, to actually hit the max passive, it's relatively simple, as you only need like 2000 attack, and considering if you do have her weapon, you have a base attack of like 600 something plus another 600 something, plus whatever your relic is going in, you're already at like 2000 attack, and to actually maximize the passive, you only need 2,500 attack to even maximize the full passive, so it's not even that big of a deal, and it's pretty easy to hit. So if you can hit that while still putting crit stats, great. If not, that's going to be up to the user. I do think it's very valid to build her for full damage, though, because, as stated, she actually does pretty solid damage. Outside of that, the only stats you're looking for, of course, are going to be attack percent and whatever it builds for your damage, so obviously, in this case, it'd be crit. Now onto her teams. So Soukaku, being a support, has a variety of teams, and that's basically every single team, because right now in the game, most characters scale off attack, and because she's got the biggest attack buff, they can basically all make use of it, along with the other buffs that she can provide. That being said, her best team right now, or the best team in the game right now, is Ellen Joe plus Von Lycan and Soukaku. This is the strongest team. They all make use of each other's abilities, giving a lot of ice penetration and, ice damage bonus. This, of course, is going to be her best place right now, but this doesn't mean she's useless outside of that. Outside of that, of course, you can always swap an Ambi for a free-to-play option, or, of course, any other stunner that you'd like to choose, as long as you're activating her core passive to get the additional ice damage off. Outside of that, there are future characters like Zhu Wan who actually do benefit from having Soukaku in the team, as Zhu only needs to have a support character or a PubSec member, so you don't even need to run a character like Nicole to element match, right? It's going to be whichever one you prefer, or whichever one you have leveled. Either one of these two characters can work, but Soukaku will be a great option even on teams that you wouldn't necessarily think want to run her. Of course, outside of that, there's also the anomaly teams where they scale off attack, running multiple anomalies plus Soukaku is a very strong option. Granted, you do have other competitive options like Arena for those teams, but Soukaku still works in this team even without her passive active, because as long as you get that attack buff, it's going to be beneficial to the team. Characters like Soldier 11, however, do actually prefer Lucy, as this will activate her passive, and Soldier 11 really wants her passive, as that gives her upwards of a 32% fire damage multiplier, which is pretty much outdoing whatever Soukaku does. Even though the attack is much lower on a character like Lucy, you might as well proc Soldier 11's passive. Of course, you can always summon for another fire character like Ben or Coleta and still run Soukaku, but at that point, you might as well just have Lucy leveled for your second team, realistically. Past that, in terms of the future teams, obviously Soukaku is going to have great value for characters like Miyabi whenever she comes out. If she is still Ice Slash, of course they're going to pair incredibly well, and then they'll just need a stunner. And then of course there are the other characters. You can just mix and match, really. You can throw in any team you want, as again, Soukaku is just an incredible support and is great in any team. There's also the inverse of this, running Soukaku as the main DPS and then running whatever support characters you want. Of course, this isn't going to be the most insane option, but as stated previously, Soukaku's damage is actually really strong, and so you can accordingly run whatever stunner you want, preferably Von Lycan, as he's got the biggest buffs for ice, and you also get that stun damage multiplier, and that will proc with Soukaku, and then whatever support you want, whether it be Nicole, Lucy for more attack, or Arena for extra ice penetration. This right here will make Soukaku actually do really competitive damage, as well. She's already buffing herself by giving her like 1,000 extra attack. You can get another 600 from Lucy, or get defense penetration from Nicole, or even a res pen from Rina, while still getting the same buffs that you always would from Von Lycan. Of course, this is not going to be the best way to run Soukaku, but it does work and actually will be pretty competitive, considering her damage is pretty solid. And if by this point in the video you're not convinced that Soukaku is the best support character in the game, and in fact one of the best characters in the game, well then I don't know how else to convince you, because I guess you can't read at that point, I'm not gonna lie. Really just is what it is. But outside of that, let's hop into the showcase, where you'll see Soukaku with a pretty low investment build doing some pretty decent damage, or actually very low investment build doing decent damage alongside Ellen Joe.
Out of the way. Good riddance. Take this. I got your soul. Be gone. How about this? The perfect bite. Sweep it off me. Get lost. Stand like this. At your service. Yep. Around and around and stop! Thanks for your business. Shark Nami! How about this? The perfect bite. Get back. Don't move. Take this. Around and around and stop! Thanks for your business. I'm here. Here we go!
I just want to say thanks for watching. That was a long one. You made it to the end. Well, I think you should like, subscribe. You know, stick around, check me out on Twitch, all that stuff in the description. See you on the next one.